recounted. This is about the mess of human relations and how they're played out in real-life situations. Not all men are like this. And of course, wasn't that just the most predictable salvo to fire from the male trenches? Look, I know not all men are like that, she retorted. And I know that you love exploring the grey areas of life. I'm also fascinated with the grey areas. But right now, it's time for men to shut up and listen to us. And not just listen to us. Defend us, stand behind us, and stand beside us. Then, with the unflinching candour that is one of the most precious gifts in my life, she described her first sexual experiences and explained how it was only now, in the wake of the Me Too movement, that she had come to see the extent to which she'd been mistreated, and to understand how these formative moments had in turn come to inform her early troubled relationships with men. Our conversation that day did much to inspire this book. It was important to me to show my daughter there were men prepared to listen and learn as women around the world revealed their anger and heartache. My intention in writing this book, however, was never, and is not, to speak for women about their mistreatment or to claim to understand, as women understand only too well, how male contempt expresses itself across all walks of life. It is, rather, an attempt to investigate as a writer and a man how murderous male hatred and disrespect rages across the world against billions of women and girls, of all colours, creeds, classes and ages. How to find the right words to frame this horror. How to understand why men do what they do to women with their guns, their hands, their cocks, their taunts, their hate-filled diatribes, their threats and acts of violence. How to comprehend this malign force that seems to seep from the male psyche and infect us all. Not from all men, of course, and does that need to be said? But from enough men, surely, to compel all men to want to look at the nature of men. That is the central hope, the appeal, embedded in this book, that other men might join me in this investigation and ruthless self-interrogation, and in doing so, become part of the change that is so urgently required. Introduction. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. James Baldwin, New York Times Book Review. A few years ago, my social entrepreneur friend Jeremy Meltzer delivered a TED Talk in Melbourne titled, "Where is Men's Roar?" He began by asking his audience to raise their hands if they had a sister. Now leave your hand up and raise the other hand if you also have a daughter. Great, keep both of them up, and if you have a mum, raise your knee. The audience was a sea of upstretched hands and knees. Meltzer then went on to cite United Nations statistics on the global pandemic of violence against women, describing it as the most systematic and pervasive human rights abuse in the world. What the hell is going on, he asked. Any one of these women could be our sister, mother, or daughter. So where are the men? Where is men's roar? Not for the football, but for what really matters. Because this is the greatest moral challenge of our times. Meltzer was calling on men to become accountable, to examine what it was in our conditioning that we were blind to, or had normalised, or both. Nothing short of a revolution in the masculine, he said, was going to return us to a healthy masculinity. That talk, in both its title and substance, scorched itself into my brain, and this was 5 years before the moral alarm bells of Me Too began sounding across the world. First in Hollywood with the forensic takedown of Harvey Weinstein, then with an "Oh God, not you too" cast of stellar names drawn from across American arts and entertainment, politics, business and sports. When millions of women worldwide began to share stories of mistreatment via the Twitter hashtag #MeToo in what was being described as a watershed, a tipping point, a karmic earthquake, I felt the tremors too. And not just because of the...